Yo, abusia for ebe mo bibia akwa shonko so e dey aba Ghana politics avenue so. You better show bibia say afi eno abedwumadi kese we so a obe like you be subscribe to the channel. Send be political trending news bia coach cover ma bibia no abusia for need for months so much depend say Ghana politics avenue so na mo ni bedi djuma na mo ni ya djumadi we abum. And you call political highway so na yensem bebre ni aso akoti. Ebi ni saying sisi ano OSP e dey abetudwa say eye na Addo amamu no anase na Addo eti ade so no nipa oyi no say a minister of the environment no oko say okwa akoche no all because community mining na omabi wo no oko akwa akoche no amasisi ano na Addo ne ye twimdo twam no mentemo wanse ma ojaye sisi ano aba betodwa awapo expose NPP for big time o chem say community mining na omoye no na Addo dankwa dia sisi ano one na Addo dankwa wo bi kan wo bi kire otonsa afren sisi ano wadane informat kese pa enya asem keto akra ebusuan for ye jobi mremo so yense obi biara so mrepi e besra mo se bo me yakọ na ye de aso ene ye ni akwakotie ensemo esi OSP ntem and minister of the environment during Nana Addo time no bo me yakọ na ye de aso akwakotie ye de obi biara ase
to use those powers and without being accused of doing politics. I think case in point is His Excellency Nana Addo, because if there was one cardinal crime that the former president committed was his deliberate negligence, or no, when I say negligence, I think that would be the wrong statement. But the deliberate crime of refusing to use the powers that he had to fight Galamsey. You see, when Nana Addo took over in 2017, he placed the ban on Galamsey. He said he was going to put his president on the line. And I think when he made those, we all supported the president. Both MPP and DC, all of us supported the president. Because you could not afford to stand against the president at that time. We all supported the president. And at which point did the president lose us? He lost us after Prof. Frimpong Party's report came out. When we had clear evidence that suggested that, contrary to what we all believed in, those 2 years, no mining and all the beautiful things they were telling us, was a huge ruse being put over our eyes. And that really indeed, the president had created a system where elements within his party were the chief architects of this crime that was being committed against our country. To the extent that when his own minister in charge of lands and natural resources, the president supposed to be leading the general this battle against Galamsey, told him that your chairman, Ashanti regional chairman, was leading this crime against the country. The president publicly exonerated him. Indeed, in Prof. Paul Boateng's report, when he told us that Prof. Paul Boateng told the president that the person you've placed in charge of the environmental protection. You know I'm so happy with Akroma here. The depth of his understanding. Because at the core of this Galamsey issue is what we call sustainable development. Because you can't also say that, listen, we shouldn't touch our resources. But you know that there's always a balance, as in because your natural resources, your lands, is the basis for your economic prosperity. But it's also the basis for your environmental protection. Because you know we are human beings, we are living organisms, and you need a certain ecological balance for you to survive. But the same land which is supposed to give you that ecological balance houses your the foundation of your economic agenda. And that's why there's a push for what? Sustainable development. And that's why when in our constitution, Article 257, when we give we create in the president the trust, we also tax parliament, not just to create a minerals commission, but also to create a forestry commission, an EPA. Because we understood as the people that we need to find our economic solace without impacting the ecological balance. And that's why Forestry Commission is so critical. So when the person the president, you've placed in the Forestry Commission is being accused by your Minister of Environment and Science as being the number one threat to the survival of our forests, and the president sleeps. Indeed, when you, the president, you give clear orders that do not mine in our forest reserves. And contrary to your clear instructions, as the commander-in-chief of the Ghana Armed Forces, in the world of our executive powers, people are mining in forest reserves, and you sleep. You get a picture. So because of the historical context of this Galamsey issue, then you can't argue against the fact that the biggest problem in this Galamsey issue is the political one. And that political one is a clear lack of political will. You understand? And so when you understand it from that perspective, then you do not have a choice but to side with the president's view that we have not reached a state where we needed to take steps that would breach, like, even though it's constitutional, because emergency powers are granted under our constitution, Article 31, but within the broader context of the purpose of the constitution, which is to limit the powers of government, so that we can be placed in the best position to protect the liberties of the people. Then emergency powers or declaration of emergency should not be, state of emergency should not be something that must be done taken lightly. And that's why in Article 31, the clear grounds under which emergency powers should be declared are stated. And even though, because of the existential threat nature of the Galamsey, some presidents can quickly declare state of emergency in accordance with Article 31. The president just opposing that against the broader agenda, and understanding that, listen, the problem is not because he does not have the powers. The problem is a clear lack of commitment to use those powers. He felt that, listen, I do not need to declare state of emergency. But that statement, that stand of his, brought a problem for him, because you see, you cannot also successfully fight this battle if you do not have you do not find a means of getting the buy-in of the public. And whether you don't like it or not, this raging debate, should we declare state of emergency, should we not declare state of emergency, was going to impact the ability of the president to fight Galamsey. Because you needed an impact analysis of what the problems really are. Because it's so many issues. At one stage is the criminal angle, and so then you need to find a way in which the police, the military can battle that. Underneath that is also a social issue. The fact that people are being forced to go into Galamsey because of a fundamental lack of opportunities, livelihood opportunities, similar to an armed robbery issue. Well, people do armed robbery because probably because they don't have jobs. But that does not stop the fact that it's a crime. So you need to battle the crime, but you also need to battle the underlying situation that make people go into armed robbery. Because right now the president needs to stop Galamsey. And you see, when you understand the terms of Article 257 of our constitution, the first thing that Galamsey constitutes a crime, that people are stealing the property of Ghana. That's a crime. Now beyond that, in how they do it also, they are destroying the the environment of Ghana. That's placing all of us into danger. So the solution is not just in arresting people, but the solution also lies in fighting the fundamental problems. That's the livelihood, issues. Indeed, there are papers that suggest that one of the reasons why people do Galamsey is even because of the bottleneck, the difficulties, the bureaucracies in our licensing regime. So that if you just deal with the criminal aspect, and I'm not saying he should deal with the criminal aspect, but if you deal with just the criminal aspect without dealing with all the other issues, then you are not solving the problem. You are temporarily stopping something, but it will come back again. So yesterday, listening to the president and listening to clearly the in-depth understanding of the issues by our president, it was refreshing. Because what he's saying, first of all, is to convince Ghanaians, is to get the buy-in of the people of Ghana. That is, I know that there's in fact, he used the word, the big elephant in the room. It's not, you shouldn't just want a state of emergency declared. You want a solution to our problems. And he's assuring us that he understands the powers he has. Because Article 58 gives him powers. Article 257 gives him powers. You go to the Minerals and Mines Act, powers are granted. You go to the Water Resources, powers are granted. You go to the Forestry, all those powers are there. The small fishes. And do not deal with the roots, the big men behind it. They will not be doing anything. Because right now, Galamsey has become an organized crime. It's not like a petty. It's an organized crime. So and you know all over the world. One day, these cocaine issues that happen in Latin America, because of the organized nature, sometimes you can use the small fishes as baits to get to the senior man. And he said this during his campaign, and for me, he was just reiterating his position, which I agree with. You get a picture. Then, so beyond, he recognized that this is a crime and we will deal with it. I think in that context, the AG gave us, even yesterday, gave us 2 Ghanaians, bastards that have been taken to prosecute Chemaun. You understand? It shouldn't just end with Chemaun to me. I also believe that there may be people, there may be Ghanaians also who are begging the Galamsey, who may be supporters of the NDC. Yes, I don't know. I don't know whether it's A or B, but there may be people in the NDC also. I don't want to use the word Ghanaians who maybe also be big and they be involved. All of them. For now, the people are not giving me any cause to doubt that you go after all of them. But you should go after all of them. And then he went further. And the chairman, I think, let me reiterate the position about that 25-acre example you gave. Because the problem also is about precision mining. So even the small-scale miners who have been duly licensed, when they go about this try your luck kind of mining, it destroys our environment also. And so when you expand illegal mining to irresponsible mining, you understand, then they may fall under that category. But they fall in there because of lack of technology, of an appreciation of technology. So when you have a government who says, as part of my policy to better regulate mining, we are going to introduce what's called systems that would facilitate precision mining, then it's a in the right direction. You understand me? So for me, generally, I think yesterday was a great occasion because the president killed so many birds with one stone. I mentioned how this effort helps in enhancing our quest to create a culture, political culture that is participatory in nature as against parochial. Because if there's one problem that our politics has caused us, is the parochial nature of the kind of politics we do in our country. You understand? You understand? Because if you are doing participatory politics, then why even your party comes out with certain what's called policies and you disagree, you won't be afraid to disagree. I'm here very happy with my brother here, but he doesn't agree with my position that we must ban small-scale mining because the disagreement is not the problem. In fact, if you have a policy where people agree with everything you say, then it's the problem. Because the reason why we do politics, or we ought to do politics, like in the words of Aristotle, is to create a situation where the good of the state can be enhanced. And once the good of the state is enhanced, then you put you put ourselves in a situation where the well-being of the citizens can easily succeed. So yesterday, the president took, in fact, I was very happy. And I heard some people say that the president does not need any dialogue. You should go and solve the problem. Some CSOs say that. And I was shocked. Because if there's any group of people that should push for that right political culture, it should be the CSOs. And when you listen to a president, he didn't call yesterday's meeting because he wanted fresh ideas. He has his own ideas. The ideas were in his manifesto, and the ideas have been seen in how he's tackling Galamsey so far. But if I have any criticism of the president, the same criticism that, looking back, I have in his first term, I don't know why they fail to. I think they should look at their communication team, because after 2016, having the benefit of reading, let's say, the economic sector recovery program and a number of documents, I realized that even the Doomsday issue, we were mistaken in the manner we handled the president. But we were mistaken because we didn't know. Because he does this, and the communication outfit doesn't do a good job in propagating, because it is in the interest of the state also, not just the party. Because when you have a leader, a good leader who is doing good, then if he sits there and allows propaganda to finish him, it is not in the interest of the state. You see the evil that was done us over the last 8 years. The evil that was done us over the last 8 years would have happened if they handled their communication well. So yesterday, I'm very happy he started the process that will facilitate our building of the right political culture that is participatory in nature. But also, for me, he managed to convince people. And I heard one of your texts say that up until yesterday, he was firmly in the camp of people who felt that state of emergency or nothing. But what do we want? Do we want a state of emergency or want the Galamsey issue solved? So if you have a president who has ideas that can solve the Galamsey issue without resorting to the painful price of state of emergency. What the state of emergency does is that it puts the people who are in the areas where the state of emergency in very dire circumstances. Because then the benefits of we having powers that are limited will not be available to those people. You get a picture. So, Senna, all in all, I know that then whether or not the exercise yesterday will be deemed a success will be determined on whether or not in the next few years we have clean water, we have mining that is responsible, whether we have the courage to eat contaminated because we believe that there's no what's called mercury in it. But without the benefit of hindsight, I want to commend the president for the actions he took yesterday. I had wished that the invitation would have been extended also to the smaller or to the opposition parties. And I think it's on that score that I want to side down, agree with the words of my brother Sabo here, that sometimes even in how we do opposition, we must do it responsibly. We must do it with the interest of the country at stake. Because I'm sure the reason why they couldn't invite the NPP and the other smaller parties is because of their own ways. And I understand them. Because now when the pressure was being given to Addo in his last term about this Galamsey, he extended invitation to the opposition then, and they refused. I understand why they refused, because last if Addo had extended the invitation to me, I would have gone. But at that point, I had realized that the whole thing was Azan. The whole thing was Azan. You understand? Because if your own, or that you disagree with me?
At least,
you left it after we have our discussion in the one corner there. Because where your Minister of Environment gives you a report, and then within a week after, Office of the Special Prosecution is chasing your Minister of Environment for bringing out a report which was going to help us in our collective fight against Galamsey. And if after that you invite me to come for a discussion, I think it's Azar. But unfortunately, because of that, I feel that the president for that politically it will not be too wise for him to extend a hand to the NPP and that's the other opposition party. But there are small steps. I like his style, his leadership style. I've said it so many times that over the last 8 years we didn't have a leader. Now we have a leader. We can disagree with him, we can debate, but we have a leader. And I'll call on all Ghanaians once again. And I think himself is doing a very great job at that. Because what yesterday did was to get the buy-in of everybody, to get all of us to sing from a single hymn sheet. And I think that just yesterday, giant strides have been taken, which places all of us in a very good position to defeat this menace of Galamsey, and we will defeat Galamsey. And after we've won that victory, I'll have tea with my comrade. And we'll discuss whether the way to go will be the socialist ways or the capitalist ways. But ultimately, whether a socialist, whether it's capitalist, once we have the political will, once we have the interest of the country at heart, Ghana will be better for it. And that's what we want. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's been an interesting discussion on this subject matter of the CSO's engagement. My lawyer, also, one of the things I note is that over the past few months, one of the biggest, strongest voices when it comes to matters of Galamsey has been the CSOs and also religious bodies. So I think around the table he invited people who have been actually the most vociferous critics of whatever they are doing on the grounds. But also, I think you're right, and I think Doc will also take note that one of the things even is surprising that most of us media men are also watching and say, oh, they are doing this. It becomes quite interesting because you're supposed to be the one who knows and tells others. But if you're finding out for the first time, alongside with everybody else, it becomes quite surprising. So maybe a lot more work can be done on a matter of communication. But so what we'll do is we have to jump into the very next topic of discussion. Just 2 comments. Hadi in Pig Farm says President John Dramani Mahama is very much on course and focused on executing the Better Ghana agenda. He promised and is paying no attention to all the ugly noise that's being made by the MPP. Inshallah, the government of President John Dramani Mahama will succeed in fighting Galamsey like how he did in fighting Dum. So God bless our homeland, Ghana. We have to jump into the very next discussion, but also to say that, and I'm hoping that my television viewers are now a bit happier. Doc thought the problem was his mic. No, it was not. It was just a system problem. We've solved it. So now they can hear us now. This time around, they'll hear Doc clearly. And I'll start with him. I know it's an internal matter of Sabo, but I'll start actually this discussion with Dr. Makuliva.
Open should be your J-Bread, heard you, my dear, Persuade. I don't be a Ghana politics I have it so. Go to hear you never reviews over like a share or subscribe to the channel but notification bell also. Share my one now for opposition of Bianson and to make media I do Ghana politics to be a OSP and it's a Siano, a Minister of Environment and a Siano or more a Kochima Siano Nanado a own a community mind a big one pass Siano. One man to me answer in your mouth the OSP said and I didn't any bread so a not out of down quite Akuffo so. Because if we change in church that is a ha and a bread and mum crying something. Me da obi bias na afei so masan makram